J.D. Vance has had a busy weekend. He was visiting an event hosted by the hard-right Christian nationalist Lance Wallnau. The event, sponsored by this hard-right Christian nationalist group, has demonized during the festivities. We'll play a little bit for you. You'll get a vibe for it. During these festivities, they, of course, elevate Christian nationalism and Christianity. And, of course, there's nothing wrong with Christianity and all of that. But they can't elevate without diminishing the other side and really going after, in fact, I'd say diminishing is a polite way to put it. I might say demonizing Kamala Harris and the left and the Democrats. And so Vance appeared at this event. And as you know, many of the views that hard-right Christian nationalists have do conform to the views that have been expressed by J.D. Vance. A lot of them have to do with women and women's role in the culture and society and this kind of thing. So in that spirit, here's the guy who hosted the event that J.D. Vance was in attendance for. Lance Wallnau is his name. And you'll get a Wallnau, I think, Wallnau. Here he is.
And what you're seeing now is a real Jezebel. You're going to see a lot of people saying that. It doesn't, it's like Pentecostal 101.
He's talking about Kamala Harris.
Somebody operating in manipulation, intimidation, and domination, especially when it's in a female role, trying to emasculate a man who is standing up for truth. You're dealing with the Jezebel spirit. What was accomplished was she can look presidential, and we'll go to this later. That's the seduction of what I would say is witchcraft. That's the manipulation of imagery that creates an impression contrary to the truth, but it seduces you into seeing it. So that spirit, that occult spirit, I believe is operating on her and through her, similar to with Obama, that there's a kind of an angel of light, charisma. You can see it at the DNC. And so when you're up against that, the good news is if we're going to go full tilt Pentecostal, Jezebel may be the spirit you're up against, but then Trump has like an Elijah mantle on him, probably from the intercession of 1 million Christians. We've got to lean into this thing because the Elijah mantle can break the spell of witchcraft off America. God can tear the veil.
Tony. It's so much BS where you apply various labels and, spiritual explanations to whatever is going on. You give Trump the Elijah mantle. You give Kamala Harris this Jezebel thing. Jezebel is the seductress from the Bible, and it's also I believe it's also a racially bigoted term as well. So it's used, it serves a double purpose that way.
See, Obama would love to be the Antichrist.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. But you see how every one of these guys, it's so much easier to not have to talk about issues or about policy or about anything substantive. It's so much easier just to pull this stuff out of your ass.
They're crazy. They absolutely are crazy.
Yeah, the light, the Elijah spirit, all this. It's just crap piled on, and he's not done. He's almost done though. Go ahead, Tony.
Veil is torn. We have a lot working against us.
Oh, I guess he was pretty well done. But essentially, they're suggesting that there is a satanic kind of cover-up that's going on. You got more? Did you find more? What is this?
This is from his the actual thing Saturday night. If you want to hear some of his live in front of the stage, we could just cut it off anytime.
Yeah.
Twist out of context, kaboom! I got ABC, NBC, CBS all asking me to clarify what I meant. It's like, what in the world? So the Lord spoke to me and said, this message will be confirmed with signs following. And one of the signs is, it's heard. The second sign is, God's going to confirm it supernaturally. Now, I'm not one of those people that is, the healing evangelist type that's always wanting to lay hands on people. But the Lord said, you better start doing that. So we didn't do it today because we had bicycle stuff here. But I'm up in Michigan. The Lord says I'm with Mario, and I'm realizing God will confirm the word with signs following. I want you all to begin to realize, I don't care if you're accustomed to seeing the miraculous. Get your mind renewed to the fact that you're going to lay hands on people, and God's going to shock you with what he does. Because I think what we're on is a cutting-edge alchemy of a fresh move of God with a word that God wants to supernaturally confirm.
Okay, so I've heard enough. I mean, again, it's just all invented. It's all, I just got off the phone with the Lord, and let me tell you, he's going to appear supernaturally.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's utterly, and here's the problem with it. It jams the gears of reasoning so that there are people who look to faith and look to even the church and organized religious groups for comfort, for guidance, and this crap is really, again, taking all of those people way off course. And I would suggest even worse, undermining reason. And so you end up with this following that these people have, and it's not insubstantial, and it can buoy a candidate like Donald Trump, who they've chosen as their imperfect vessel to do the Lord's perfect work. That's the way they get their heads around the fact that Donald Trump is, spews a lot of hate, isn't a religious man in any way. And as, again, he's not one of them, but they, again, point to him as the imperfect leader who is doing the perfect word of the Lord, who can at least lead ahead so that they can do the perfect word of the Lord. And the last thing I'll say, and I've said it before, and I'll say it forever, is how can we possibly allow these churches to be tax exempt? You can see that they are political arms of movements that flex their muscle at election time and can actually influence elections. They influence policy, they influence thinking, and it's way beyond the spiritual. They're using the spiritual to influence the political. And you know what I say? Fine, go ahead and do that. I don't have an issue. I'm sure all of these various churches and temples have views about public policy that do affect society in ways that they desperately feel are important. Cool. Send your message, dude. All I'm saying is pay taxes. You shouldn't be tax exempt. But, find me any politician in America who would suggest that. No one wants to touch it. No one wants to touch it. So, but anyway, that's where J.D. Vance was. And he also, as you know, has done a lot of, there he is, done a lot of work with Tucker Carlson. And he is, in my view, Carlson is a loathsome figure. He's praised Holocaust deniers. He's really, I think, way off the deep end. I don't know what his relationship is with Russia, but it's a curious one. In any case, that's where J.D. Vance was, at least for a part of this weekend, and that's the crew that has fallen in line behind J.D. Vance. But the other thing about J.D. Vance that's interesting, there he is with Tucker Carlson, is that there are a number of J.D. Vance private messages that came out in a hack. And this hack has told us kind of what we knew, but to hear it and see it from J.D. Vance himself, what he was saying about Donald Trump. He called Donald Trump cultural heroin. He makes some feel better for a bit, but he cannot fix what ails them. And one day they'll realize it. That's from J.D. Vance, the vice presidential candidate. What Trump offers is an easy escape from the pain to every complex problem. He promises a simple solution. He never offers details for how these plans will work because he can't. Trump's promises are the needle in America's collective vein. Again, J.D. Vance wrote that. Now, he wrote it 8 years ago, okay? But these were the musings and opinions of this guy who is now running with Donald Trump to lead America. And the other thing I would just point out when you look at J.D. Vance, because you're going to be looking at him at this debate tomorrow night, is that with Donald Trump's age, you very much have to reflect on the fact that he could end up ascending to the presidency. I mean, it's possible. So that was the big news, this Vance hack. I'll ask Gary Dietrich about it. Again, I suspect that from the standpoint of the electorate, it's all baked in. You know, there's no news or leak or, yeah, right, contradiction that is really going to matter. But
according to the Washington Post, some of these messages that have been leaked now were sent as direct messages on what was then Twitter, now X, and as few as 4 years ago. So in the 2020 election, he was sending messages about, negative about Trump, how Trump was a failed president, how his economic policies didn't work, and how he thought Biden would win. Vance was saying back in 2020. So 4 years ago isn't very long. And I wonder if the Trump campaign had known about this beforehand.
Yeah, thank you for that, because the quotes I read you were 8 years old, but you're right. There are others that were criticisms of Trump and, real broadsides to him that are not as old.
Yeah.
And I don't think they did heavy vetting on J.D. Vance. I mean, J.D. Vance was a pick. Well, we can ask Gary about it. But J.D. Vance was a pick that was really pushed by Don Jr. and Eric and ultimately Trump at the time was running against Joe Biden, and I think feeling a sense of confidence. And it was really one of those picks where you got this fire-breathing dragon, which is what J.D. Vance is, on the ticket with you, very media-savvy guy, seemed like, he could smack talk alongside Trump, and he could be MAGA into the future. Like, he would carry the mantle of MAGA-ness into the future, was the thinking, I believe, that went behind it. I think facing Kamala Harris, he might have picked somebody who would balance the ticket more completely. J.D. Vance doesn't balance the ticket. He, in essence, fires up that base.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.